Like this. You can't do it like this. You ain't got it like this. You only wish you had it poppin' like this. You can't do it like this. You ain't got it like this. You only wish that you could rock it like this. You can't do it like this. You ain't got it like this. You only wish you had it poppin' like this. You can't do it like this. You ain't got it like this. Nah, you only wish that you could rock it like this.
And possibly good evening. This is the Low Blow Sports Show presented by tsbsports.net live on YouTube. Today we have a ton of great topics that we're going to go through, but first let me introduce everybody that's going to be on the show today. First we have Alan Miller.
What's happening, folks?
It's on like Donkey Kong.
On like Donkey Kong.
And the guy sporting a black eye, Adam Cavallini.
Listen, I apologize. I really should know how to charge the lane coach. I'm really, really sorry. I'll find the position next time.
That's classic. Adam Cavallini, Rutgers alum. Beautiful. First off, before we get into the show, I'd like to pick a bone with Father Time here. You know, it used to be, and I'm sure, Adam, you might feel me, it used to be you could go out and binge drink for hours at a time. Next day, you wake up, you have some McDonald's, go at it again. Last night I had three glasses of red wine. And I feel like crap today. I have a headache.
Well, that's because you're drinking red wine, man. Red wine is a different kind of drunk. Like
that's why I've stayed away from it, but it's better for you than white, so I figured I'd go ahead and do it. I thought I could handle it. 3 glasses.
The secret to red wine is you got to drink like a glass of water in between every first or second glass of wine, just because it dries you up like the Sahara, that stuff, for whatever reason. I don't know why it is.
Yeah.
And I know my mom's a big wine drinker, and she'll come to visit, and she's like, if we crack the bottle, we got to finish it. And one more becomes one more bottle, and next thing you know.
Oh, we started the other one.
I keep going. The next day, it feels like someone literally put like a clamp on my head and just keeps turning it and turning it and turning it.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, man.
Father Time, I can't shake it off either. I think it was like a couple weeks ago before St. Patty's Day. I went on a bender of all benders on Saturday, and I wasn't fully recovered till like mid-Tuesday morning. Like, it was... It's like, I'm not drinking this much again until at least St. Patty's Day. My wife's like, that's in 2 weeks. I'm like, I know. I'm taking a break.
Yeah, and I'm not a drinker. I hardly drink at all anymore. But, you know, the few times that I do, I'd like to be able to have a few drinks and not feel like crap the next day. But it happens every time. It doesn't matter what I drink.
12 pounds.
That and Pedialyte will actually help you out a lot. I learned that from my buddy at his wedding 2 weeks ago in Chicago. Drank a giant bottle of Pedialyte. He's like, I feel like $1 million. I'm like, oh, I guess, sure, why not?
I've heard that. I haven't tried it myself. All right, so today we're talking Sean Miller, the Pac-12, and the referees. Give a little reaction to Rutgers coach Mike Rice. The Auburn situation that we knew was coming, but it's finally coming out. Falcons signing Brian Banks, why that means something. And we're going to talk about a little bit of Louisville and Ware's injury, since that was last week and we didn't get to cover it. So a couple semi-feel-good stories at the end there. And, of course, we got Love It or Hate It running through a bunch of topics there, games of the week. And, of course, we finish it off with our random rants about anything, whether it's about sports or not. So let's go ahead and move on into the show. We're going to start off. I want you guys to take a side. Sean Miller, coach of Arizona, ended up getting tossed in a game. But it turns out that the referee, the lead referee, was saying he would give the other referees a $5,000 or a Bahamas cruise.
Cancun. Let's get our tropical destinations correct.
Oh, sorry, Cancun. I could have sworn it was Bahamas, but either way, tropical destination. If they got rid of him or teed him up. So that's what ended up happening, and it was over pretty much nothing, according to Sean Miller. So, Cav, whose side are you on in this?
100% on Sean Miller's side on this. That was his first technical of the year. Yeah. He shouldn't have got bounced out, and I think we learned a little something about the NBA a couple years ago about even joking around about stuff like this. You can't joke around about these type of things. And Sean Miller shouldn't have been bounced in that game. It really wasn't that hard of a technical where he should have been kicked out of it. I think wasn't he just trying to ask for an explanation on something, which coaches do consistently?
Yeah, according to him, all he said was he touched the ball. He touched the ball.
He touched the ball. So.
And he said it like 12 times.
It doesn't matter, but how many college basketball games do you see where the guys still run down the court yelling in the second half about a play that happened in the first half,
Exactly, yeah.
So I 100%, no doubt, take Sean Miller's side on this. I think it's ridiculous and it taints the game really, really, really bad. And because basketball, I think, is one of the games where there's so many more judgment calls than in most other sports that refs really can completely control the pace and outcome of the game more than I think in a lot of other sports. Like a strike can be a strike, a ball can be kind of questionable, and whether or not he gets to that base on time slightly, but fouls are very ambiguous. We know that the travel rule is all but gone except for when it wants to be. There's so many rules in basketball that are unwritten rules that referees can control the game, and this is just something where you can't. It's got to be completely clean slate, open book, and all above board so that these things can be limited. So it's real. So I completely take Sean Miller's side on this.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Sean Miller, he really didn't do anything wrong in this situation.
He touched the ball. He touched the ball.
He just wanted an explanation, and what coach doesn't want an explanation after something happens that they don't agree with? Now, the one thing that I can say, in defense of the referees is that 2 years ago now, Sean Miller did have a little technical foul issue. He was the most called coach in the Pac-12 on technical fouls 2 years ago. So it's not like he had never been called for a technical foul before. It's just he has recently cleaned his act up and hadn't had any technical fouls this year. So, there is that crossing that line. He did it in the past, sure, but he hasn't done it now. And now you're going to call him for it, and it's going to cost his team a game. I just think that's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, and the other thing about this situation is the referee said that it was just in jest. And as Adam was pointing out, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether you're joking or not. The person that leaked this out, another referee that was there, I believe there were 7 referees there, he said he didn't see it as being said in jest. And as long as one person doesn't get the joke, then it's not a joke. When it comes to this kind of stuff.
When it comes to refereeing in life, if one person will get the joke, that person could just run. Let's get that straight right away right now.
Well, and I mean, it is a joke up until you call the technical foul.
Yeah, exactly. So he put that idea in there. And to me, that's just completely wrong. So do you guys believe the head referee should be fired?
Yeah, of course.
Unfortunately, yes, because as soon as the joke was made, he should have warned the coach, said it, and went and told someone that this comment was made. And of course, you know what I mean? Like, whenever even that comment was made, even if it's in jest, it needs to be brought to the attention of X, Y, and Z officials knowing, listen, I don't plan on doing this. You can check my travel itinerary for the next 6 months. Unfortunately, my wife and I booked a vacation to Cancun 3 months ago, so if we end up in Cancun, please don't think that. But as soon as that joke is made, it's kind of like one of those things where it needs to be brought to the attention of enough people so that you can continue on with your game, and in case some of this comes out, it's all been covered.
Yeah, I feel you on that. And so basically the Pac-12 just looked over it.
Yeah.
It was said in jest, that's all it was. And speaking of people just looking over things, the Rutgers AD pretty much just looked over a video from the head coach, Mike Rice, beating up on his players. Now, okay, beating up on his players is a little bit much, but throwing balls at them, pushing them, cussing at them. I can live with cussing at them and stuff, but maybe some of the language he threw around there probably
you can't throw out the homophobic epitaphs. Yeah. That's really what it comes down to. You can call guys a pansy ass and a lot of things we're not going to say on this podcast, that F words, S words, the entire George Carlin list of things you can't say on television, you have every right to yell at your players at in practice. And you also have a right to grab them and shove them into the places where they're supposed to be.
Yeah, I feel that.
Kicking a kid in the ass or butt is fine. That's what they do. You know what I mean? Like, you can kick them there. I mean, not really hard, but you can get them, get up, whack, whack, whack. But it's when you start throwing things at their head, it's when things really start getting
I've never
crazy.
I've seen coaches get into it.
Yeah.
But throwing stuff
at their head from point-blank range.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and the worst part about it to me was he would throw a ball and then immediately reload. Ah, ready, get it. He always had another ball waiting to throw at somebody else's face.
Yeah.
The guy, it's just disgusting to me that they watched this video and didn't fire him right away. Like, to me, that's just absolutely insane. How do you see this video and not realize that this is the worst guy in the world? This guy really doesn't know how to be around college-age kids because, I mean, we live in a PC society these days, and I think we all understand that. And you really can't put your hands on kids.
I think coaching is different. I think you can put your. I think you have when those guys aren't
incredibly wrong there.
Well, I think like if your guy after the third time you tell him where he needs to be in a play and you want to grab him and throw him where he's supposed to be, is completely different. These guys are grown men.
Maybe if you're not on camera. Maybe if you're not being filmed, I can understand that.
You didn't think he was being filmed, though. It's always what blows my mind is how someone, these 6'7", 280-pound kids get balls chucked at their head, and no one punches this guy out. Like,
I thought about that too.
These kids can afford to lose $120,000 worth of college scholarship.
It's still the same. These kids are from some of the toughest parts of Camden and Newark, and it's just like how no one does that. And they can afford
to get thrown out of college for punching their coach, right?
But when you have 1,600 players saying, yeah, he was pitching balls at his head and it was self-defense.
No players were coming out and saying that.
I'm just surprised.
That's why the guy wasn't fired, because the
guy wasn't fired
about it.
The guy also wasn't fired because Rutgers has an illustrious basketball career with tons of Final Four appearances and national championships hanging from the banners. Oh, wait, that's right. They're awful. They're awful.
Well, my thing about, I was surprised no players retaliated just from instinct. I'm not saying any of them should have or would have been reasonable for them to. But as many kids got hit with the ball or shoved or something, I'm surprised not to see one of them shoved back. Eventually this kind of stuff breaks you.
They're more intelligent than their coach.
Obviously. So, I got to give the Rutgers players some props for actually dealing with that the way they did. I wish they would have band together and come to the AD and talk to them about it, but I can't knock them for that because at the same time, like Alan said, you have to worry about your scholarship. That is everything to these guys right now. So I totally get them not going to them, but I completely don't understand the AD just glossing over it. It's a first-time offense.
I thought that the 3-game suspension was enough.
Really?
Oh, man, dude. The first thing that I said when I saw the video was, holy wow. I cannot believe I just watched that. Like, I really just saw that happen. Wow.
When I first heard about it, I was like, okay, they got to be blowing this stuff out of proportion.
Right.
This isn't possible.
Nope.
I mean, we heard about Bob Knight choking somebody, but,
right.
That was the extent of things. This is as far as it can go. But
you guys disagree with the fact that, like, grabbing the kids and shoving them into places, football coaches do that all the time.
I'm not disagreeing with that myself. I know Alan was a little bit, but I don't.
Football players are wearing pads. I don't know. I think it's
a way
fine
you
line.
do it.
You push a kid and he falls down and hits his head on the floor. Like, I just think it's a really fine line putting your hands on somebody. You know, it's
the way
really a tough call.
The way I envision it is like grabbing them by the shoulders and working them to a position.
Yeah,
maybe
you didn't do that.
Maybe
You checked them.
Yeah, I know exactly. But to Alan's point, to Adam's point, moving a player into position, I'd be fine with somebody grabbing the shoulders and forcefully moving them along. But to shove is something completely different. To throw a ball, completely different.
Once again, once projectiles and chairs and balls get involved, I agree. And also, like,
WWE.
Yeah. And really, like, it's 2013. We have the Supreme Court arguing the rights for gay marriage right now. Do you really need to be calling these kids the F words?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The bundles of sticks and the mystical creatures with wings. You know what I'm saying here.
Yeah.
Watch the video.
Yeah. But I just have a hard time grasping exactly what happened. It's just amazing to me. It really is. And for the AD to overlook it is just beyond me.
But obviously it worked. Like I said, it obviously worked because they have an outstanding basketball program. Elite basketball program, obviously, Rutgers. Unbelievable.
And his excuse was he was preparing them for the Big East.
Yes.
Like people are chucking balls at them.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you know how that goes. Those inbound balls come pretty hot and heavy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't get it. But do we have anything else on that? They beat it to death this week, but I wanted to hear.
We got to touch up on it. Yeah, it's. Yeah. One of the downsides doing this thing only on a Sunday, things that break on Monday seem pretty worn out. But we got to put our own little taste and topic on it.
But at least we aren't the ones doing it every day throughout the week. We touch on it for 10 minutes and.
I mean, I know baseball just started and now we're in the Final Four, but relatively, this is kind of a slow-ish sports season. There's only X amount of stories out there right now at this time. You know what I mean?
Exactly. We're getting into the NBA playoffs. Most of the people are set. We'll be talking later about one of the teams that isn't set for the playoffs yet. It might be. But other than that, I mean, it's the end of the NCAA tournament. You got baseball just starting off, so storylines are kind of minimal right now. But we do have some pretty good stuff, such as Auburn football. Now, we had some conversations a few years ago during the Cam Newton days. We all know about Cam Newton. If you don't know what happened with that situation, I don't know where you were living 3 years ago, but Cam Newton was accused, or his father was accused of taking money to go to Auburn. But that no proof was ever found. Conveniently enough, they went on to win the state championship. The championship.
We're state champs, Paul.
It's kind of state championship. Alabama was pretty decent that year too.
So it turns out that there were some infractions going on. Players were getting paid. Nothing specifically to Cam Newton, but this is just the beginning. If they do the investigation, anything like they've done any of the other investigations, we're going to be hearing about this for the next 2 years. So what do you think is going to come out of this, Alan?
It's really tough to say what's going to come out of it. I feel like Muschamp and Chiswick, if employed at the time that the sanctions come down, will get some sort of penalty, and I'm sure Auburn will get some sort of scholarships taken away from them or something. But it's so hard to predict without really knowing. Right now it's his word versus somebody else's word, so it's tough to say what's actually going to happen. But they should be penalized just like everybody else. I mean, as you said, a couple of years ago, we talked pretty consistently about what we thought was going on in Auburn because of all the stories that we were just hearing during the time. And as we all know, that these stories just get worse with time. I mean, we all remember Reggie Bush. So, I mean, we know what's going to happen probably, but it's hard to say right now. I mean, the fine or the penalties and stuff, they're just so random seemingly by the NCAA. You can't really predict what it's going to be. So it should be big. You know, they went undefeated while cheating. But it's the only reason they won a national title was because, you know, they were bribing players to stay.
Playing with grades. They were playing with grades, bribing players. I believe that was the main part of it. But as I said,
the kids were failing drug tests too.
Yeah, that too. The synthetic marijuana.
Right.
Big deal then.
Spice or whatever they called it.
Yeah, one kid failed the test 6 times. So
that's what was killing people.
Yeah, right. So what's your take on this, Adam?
Here it is. It's what Auburn did was smarter than ours. It doesn't involve tattoos and actual merchandise. It's all cash and things that can't be proven.
Is that a little shot at Ohio State?
Yeah, a little bit. It's all it's simply things that just can't be proven.
Kara's going to give you a real one.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, they did it. I'm not supporting it or condoning it whatsoever, but it's going to be tough to prove it when it all comes down at the end of the day, because it's words and cash that there's nothing traceable. Like, you know, supposedly he slid him $400 across the table and said, "Is this enough?" And the guy said, "Yeah, I'm good with that." But that's just a word. There's no receipts. There's no actual evidence that can be brought in. It's not like Reggie Bush's house. That, you know what I mean? There's no actual thing that's going to be tough to do. And once again, the only people who are going to be paying for this are the kids who had nothing to do with it and coaches who weren't even there when it happened. Yeah. So how's it punishing Auburn right now? You know, I know that, like, they're still, you know, like
they'll strip the championship, but everybody knows they actually won it. Yeah. I'm sick of the stripping the championships and stuff.
That is the stupidest argument ever. Because, like, you remember that year Reggie Bush didn't win the Heisman, except he did?
Yeah.
You know, like,
oh, we didn't have a Heisman.
Yeah. Who did USC beat that year when they stripped them the national championship? Who did they beat that year? Texas, yeah. Do you think Vince Young goes around talking? Was that Vince Young's team?
Yeah, it is, and I bet that he does, because that's all he's got to hang.
No, but he's like, remember we won that national championship, except we didn't. You know, like, well, look at this. Yeah. It's so ridiculous.
He just tells people he won the national championship.
And lots of other things, like I can still play football. And
that's one thing I thought about adding was Vince Young. He's trying out. He's trying to get a team.
Everybody is. Jamarcus Russell's trying out.
I don't know how we haven't. I keep forgetting about that. I don't know how.
What is he trying out? The new supersized menu at McDonald's. What's Jamarcus Russell trying out?
We'll just call him Big Mac.
Yeah, exactly. I'm pretty sure wearing the number 57 is going to look real awful on a quarterback, because he's got to wear a linebacker's jersey. Wear a lineman's jersey out there. Fat piece of S. It's ridiculous. What a joke Jamarcus Russell is. What a joke. Biggest joke's on the Raiders, seriously, but, like, what awful. You're an awful human being. And did you see the Real Sports where he's like,
nah, tell us how you feel about Jamarcus Russell.
Don't hold anything back, please.
They asked him if he'd want to go play NFL Europe or play Canadian football or even the Arena League to get himself back. He's like, nah, NFL or bust, as he was just, like, sweating while doing the interview because he could barely continue the conversation. It was bad, overpaid bum. What a bum.
Don't worry, he'll be Philly's quarterback in 2 years.
Don't even. How dare you, sir?
I can see it. I can see it.
We're stockpiling quarterbacks like nothing else. We're good. Why not just go and get Geno Smith, like the real a-holes that we can be?
You know, the Chiefs were looking at Geno, even though they picked up Alex Smith. So.
Really?
I'm kind of wondering about that. I wouldn't be surprised if Andy Reid.
I mean, you have to.
And I love quarterbacks and choking in big games.
And I believe we have, 17 days until the NFL draft, so next week you can definitely expect some ton of draft topics. Is Geno Smith going to be the real deal or not? What quarterbacks are, that kind of stuff. We're definitely going to get into a lot of that next week. So, speaking of football, let's go ahead and move on. The Falcons sign Brian Banks. Now, this isn't a big-time player. Most people probably don't know who Brian Banks is. But that's because he spent the last few years in jail on a rape charge.
And kidnapping.
And, let me not forget, kidnapping. Well, it turns out after he gets out, the woman that accused him admits that the whole story wasn't true. They got it on tape. Now, he has a chance to get back into the NFL. The Falcons were going to give him a chance last year, but apparently it was wrong timing. But they stayed true to their word, and he is going to be trying to make the 53-man roster this year. And I really hope he does, because that is probably one of the most horrific things that can happen to you, next to being accused of murder and sent to jail for that, and spending 20 years in there before they find out that you didn't do it and release you, is being accused of rape, getting out of jail, having to have an ankle bracelet put in as a sex offender, only able to live in certain areas, has to be known that you're a sex offender, all for nothing. All because, for whatever reason, this lady decided that she was going to accuse him of rape and kidnapping.
I give you 1.5 million reasons why.
Is that what it was?
That's why she said she was afraid to do it. She was afraid she was going to lose the $1.5 million her and her family won from a civil suit against Long Beach United School District following the incident.
So what happens to that money, and what happens to her?
He said he's not going to sue her. He has every right to do it, to get the money back. He's just trying to put the past behind him. But I don't know. Like, what does that? I'm not a lawyer. I don't even play one on television. I'm not quite sure. I mean, I've got some lawyer friends. I guess I could ask them about that, but I'm not quite sure what exactly will become of that. With that.
I don't understand how a person can accuse somebody of rape.
It's against
and then completely get away with it. Shouldn't she?
It's the law to falsely accuse somebody. It's its own set of rules. If you accuse somebody who didn't do something.
So she could get put in jail.
Yeah, she could get put in jail if that's part of the punishment. I don't know what the punishment for falsely accusing somebody is, but there is a punishment for sure.
Okay.
Honestly, she should have to serve as much time in jail as he did. Put her in jail for the exact same amount of time. Costs her the exact same amount of money. I mean, it should be even. This guy, he was very, very highly recruited coming out of high school. He was going to be a star linebacker at USC. Like, this guy had a seriously bright future ahead of him. And then somebody comes out and tells a story that's not true, and this guy's life is ruined. Like, that's awful. Like, that should be a fear of everybody. That could happen to you and me. All three of us. That could happen to us tomorrow. So
yeah, exactly.
It is a tale that really makes you question. Like this. They took his whole life away. 5 years in jail, 5 years on probation, and he didn't do anything.
And it's not like convicted rape. Not that anyone has a great time in prison, but convicted rapists usually have a little bit of a tougher time in prison.
Yeah, well, I don't think anybody was messing with this guy in prison. Let's remember, he was the top recruited linebacker coming out of high school. He's not a tiny little guy.
Yeah.
I forgot
that most inmates look at the blue chip value before messing with a guy in jail.
It doesn't matter when you're ganged up on in the shower. So
exactly. Hold up, this guy.
But in
the
the end,
USC's finest. Pick yourself back off the floor, your stuff, young man, and walk away. Everything will be just fine. You can eat your own fruit cup. Keep
it. Fruit cup. Half-baked.
Give that fruit cup.
What were you about to say, Alan?
It'll probably turn out for Brian Banks. He'll probably end up making the practice squad for the Falcons. You know, he hasn't played football in such a long time. He got a tryout with the Seahawks last year, and he didn't make their practice squad cut. He came to the Falcons and tried out, and just wasn't a space then. But in this situation,
he can make the Falcons 53-man roster.
I don't think so. I don't think there's going to end up being space for him. I really don't think that there will. Why don't you go on somewhere?
Love you, Alan.
Yeah. You know, it is what it is. You have your own opinion. We're going to be pretty solid this year.
I know. I just like to tease. You guys are totally going to the NFC Championship and not blowing it till then.
That's fine. I'll be happy with that.
You'll be happy with another NFC Championship loss?
You know what? Improvement is improvement. If we can win another playoff game, I think that's good. And I think.
You know how many years? You know how many years Adam probably said that?
3. Let me break it down for you. 1 was disappointing, but really looking forward to it. 2 was heartbreaking because it was against Tampa Bay. 3 was anger-inducing. 4, I cried because we finally beat them and went to the Super Bowl, and they got disappointed. And then 5 was a tale of two halves where, for once, McNabb was right when I supported him when he said, hey, I wasn't on the field when we lost that game. So, yeah, let me tell you, it hurts, kid. It hurts bad.
Well, getting back onto Brian Banks, I think this has the possibility of being the feel-good story of the year, at least for the NFL. If he is able to make it back, I mean, he could just make the practice squad, and next thing you know, halfway through the season, they may need him. Injury, whatever, or he just starts outplaying everybody. That kind of stuff happens. So as long as he makes the practice squad, I mean, that's the start of a feel-good story. And I think that probably bests Adrian Peterson's feel-good story last year.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at a guy who hasn't played football since he was 17 years old, the guy's 27 years old now. You know, he hasn't played competitive football in 10 years. So, yeah. I mean, making the practice squad is a huge victory. I mean, huge victory. People don't walk onto, football fields and make NFL practice squads. It's not like they let anybody on there, we couldn't walk up to an NFL team and be like, I want to play on the practice squad, and they'll say, yeah, sure, anybody can play on the practice squad. No, you've got to have some talent. So
I think I can make it.
I don't think you could. I think every NFL player would break you with one finger. So
Brandon Banks did it as a returner. I weigh about the same as Brandon Banks. He may not be there next year, but he got a good 2 years. He got a good 2 years in the NFL. I think I could still do it at the ripe age of 33. Still got my speed. Let's go ahead and move on. We need to get to love it or hate it pretty quick. Real quick, glancing over Louisville. They're heading to the championship. I mean, close game with Duke in the beginning. Then Ware gets injured. Most horrific injury I have seen in my life. I thought Theismann took the cake, but this beats Theismann was hidden with a sock, at least, and there was contact. There was absolutely no contact on Ware. It just broke.
Makes me cringe.
Worst thing that was just horrible. Seeing a leg bent in 3 different areas. I mean, it's just. I think the 6 inches of bone sticking out of his knee was just.
I had to see it on YouTube because they only showed the replay one time, and I was turned around for a second, trying to look. Everybody's crying. I'm like, what's going on? Like, let's see it, and I couldn't see it.
Well, it's a good thing it wasn't Mike Rice, because he would have thrown a ball at him to get up.
Get up!
I don't care if your bone's sticking out. Yeah,
lay on the floor, floor.
I mean, like I said, by the way, that is it was a horrific looking sports industry, but not by any means the worst. It's a it was a horrific sports injury, but not the worst one, because he will walk again, unlike some people who are crippled.
Yeah.
It was horrible looking.
I think that the shock factor probably does outweigh most. I mean, when you the guys on the bench started puking when they saw it. So I mean,
seeing the guys' reaction on the bench, that was just.
Rick Pitino was crying. It was so brutal looking. You know, it was gross.
And that's more reason to love Rick Pitino in my book.
Yeah, you know, I was never a huge fan, but
I've always.
I mean, that shows some real passion and some real care for your players when you're bawling after you see one of your players. You know.
Yeah. And again, it's something he can come back from. And he's still that upset about it. I mean, you look at it.
It looked really bad.
Yeah. So.
It was such a freak play too. Like,
yeah. He didn't drink milk.
He was saying he did that exact same thing with the exact same person. It was Thornton taking the shot, and he said in the last game he had tried to defend that three and flew by him, landed just fine. He did the exact same thing. The landing didn't look awkward at all. Like, it wasn't like he was out of balance. The leg just went out.
It was just like, nope, crack.
Craziest thing
it's
ever.
One of those 1 in a million chances that he couldn't do that again if he tried. Not that he'd want to try, but he couldn't do that again if he tried.
Yeah. But the good news is Ware is back with the team. He was in uniform. Of course, he's not going to play, but had him in uniform and everything. So that's, for now, that is the feel-good story, just knowing that. And he's taking it so well. I mean, I've gotten a lot of respect for Ware just from this because of the way that he took the injury. He's just like, you know, I'll be back.
How much do you think the surgery costs to fix that dude's leg?
Oh,
ballpark it. Take a wild guess.
Let's see. My ACL surgery was like $6,000. So I'm thinking probably somewhere in that range, $6,000 to $8,000.
Try $670,000.
What?
They had to call in surgeons and stuff who weren't working, and they got them in like crazy fast. It was like ridiculously expensive. They started like a fundraiser to pay for his surgery. It was so expensive.
Yeah, how about Louisville pays for the surgery?
I was just about to say.
I mean, it's not like they're paying their players. I mean, they got $600 extra hanging around.
Yeah, exactly.
You think so?
Yeah,
pretty sure.
I'm pretty sure they're gonna make it well over $600 just for making the Final Four this year.
Right, that they will spend, that they will use.
On basketballs.
Maybe.
I mean, basketball is a relatively cheap sport to run. It's not football where you have helmets, pads, jerseys. I mean, you got jerseys and a basketball and a court to maintain. That's it.
Other athletics, they got to pay for their football program, which is
exactly. The basketball pays for the football program.
Exactly.
All right, let's go ahead and move it on to love it or hate it. Running out of time here. USC hires Andy Enfield from the Florida Gulf Coast. Alan, love it or hate it?
Yeah, I mean, I love it. You know, he can't do anything but improve that program. They've been so terrible. So, yeah, I love it. I think it's a great hire.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it for the fact that this guy basically got to show what he can do and gets to move into a major school. Hate it because I would like to have seen what he could have done with Gulf Coast for a couple more years.
That's my exact take on it, Adam. I love it for him getting a real job. USC. I don't know if it's a real job in the basketball realm, but
getting paid big money is a better way to put it.
Exactly. Well, not that it really matters to him. I mean, he's a millionaire already anyway. But
was he?
Yeah, he was a self-made millionaire before he was a coach. So, hence the wife. So, I would have liked to see him stay a couple more years. You know, like we were talking about with Butler last week and Stevens. I'd like to see him get that program going even more, because I mean, what they were able to do in the tournament this year was just amazing. So, and it was an exciting team. So I would have liked to see that go on further, but I love it for him, hate it for Florida Gulf Coast, basically. So, but hey, Florida Gulf Coast.
Who cares about Florida Gulf Coast? I mean, really, come on, nobody.
The greater Naples area and Fort Myers.
Yeah.
Who cares about them?
But at least they have one of the greatest campuses in the world, apparently. That's pretty amazing place. Let's move on. Raiders. They pick up Matt Flynn. Love it or hate it, Alan?
I hate it. One day the Oakland Raiders will learn how to evaluate a quarterback.
I don't know.
When you sign a guy who Seattle signed Matt Flynn last year in the offseason to be their starter, and he was coming and Russell Wilson made him look like a fool. Well, I think that's going to be a trend in Matt Flynn's career. You know, I don't really see him starting. I think that Terrell Pryor is going to start over him in Oakland. I mean, if
I was going to ask
Pryor is starting over you, then you know that the signing's got to be a mistake. It has to.
And Terrell Pryor played pretty good in his limited time last season, and this will be his third season with the Raiders, I believe. Well, second and a half. I think he came in like halfway through. But I think this is another situation where Matt Flynn gets paid, goes to another team, supposed to possibly be the starter. They said there is going to be a little challenge there. They're not labeling him the starter yet. But I think he gets beat out by Terrell Pryor. So I love it as a backup move for the Raiders, but I definitely don't love it as thinking he's going to jump in and start and be better than Carson Palmer last year. So what do you think, Adam?
No. It's love it for Matt Flynn. Way to be, buddy. You get paid a lot of money to hold clipboards, buddy.
2 games and you keep getting paid over them.
You obviously went to the Kevin Cobb School of Clipboard Holding and big contracts because you've really, really got this thing down to a science. That is super awesome. Way to go, Matty boy. Like, he loves the Terrell Pryor. Like, I know that he's a competitor and wants to play, but really, at the end of the day, like, really, I get to watch Terrell. Light it up, man. That's guaranteed money to me for another year. Like I paid money on the clipboard and watch an awful team. It's the worst fans in football. Fantastic. Let's go.
He's going to miss your... He's going to miss
Darth Vader mask? Well, it's pretty intimidating.
I just don't understand this whole Matt Flynn thing. I mean, you sign him for a little bit and give him a chance, but quit acting like this guy's going to come in and be your starter. We've seen him play 2 games. Right?
This guy's been the best starter to never play a game of football in his entire life. He just keeps falling behind the young up-and-comers, right? Like, basically, like, I'm going to be the next Packer. Oh, there's a guy named Aaron Rodgers. I'm going to be the next Russell Wilson. Oh, Terrell Pryor. Oh, great.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
So I do feel a little bit bad for him, but...
I don't. He's making money to hold a clipboard.
Good point. Texas Tech hires Tubby Smith. He wasn't gone for very long. So Minnesota's Tubby Smith is with Texas Tech now. Love it or hate it, Adam?
Love it for Tubby Smith. Should never been fired in the first place. I'm going to make this real quick and sweet on that one. Good for him. Texas Tech is one of those mid-major programs that I know it's a major program, but like one of those basketball schools are kind of just they kind of ride the waves up and down, and I think Tubby Smith can take them to where they're going to be pretty exciting. So they were pretty exciting a couple years ago, and I'd like to see that continue.
What do you think, Alan?
Yeah, I agree. I feel like he never should have been fired in the first place. Just a really big question mark to me. Why did this go down?
Yeah, it makes no sense to me either. The only thing I don't love about this, I love that Tubby has another job, but why does it have to be at Texas Tech? I mean, UCLA maybe. I'm not much on UCLA, but they could have used Tubby Smith. So instead of going after Brad Stevens, maybe you should go after Tubby Smith, who was wide open. But instead it ends up being Texas Tech. Did Bob Knight do anything with Texas Tech when he was there? You guys remember?
I think he did. Didn't he take them to pretty deep in the tournament one year, didn't he? A couple years ago, right?
I feel like a couple years now. I feel like he might have taken them on one deep run.
When I say a couple years ago, I mean like in the last 7 or 8 years is what I'm saying. Like,
I think
don't mean like 2 years
run, maybe Sweet 16 at the most, but I'm not sure. I really can't remember, but I don't remember Bob Knight being able to do anything with Texas Tech. Hopefully Tubby can, but again, I would have liked him to be at a bigger program than at Texas Tech, but that's the only thing I don't love about that. Love it for Tubby, though. He's a great coach.
What are big programs these days, brother? One and dones, man. You can build a lot more with the programs that aren't one and done programs.
That is true, and that's a good point. All right. Browns trade Colt McCoy to the 49ers. Love it or hate it, Alan?
I actually love this move, to be perfectly honest. I feel like he's a good contrast to Colin Kaepernick. You know, Kaepernick is big and mobile, whereas McCoy is smaller, yet he's also mobile. So he can run the same kind of offense as Kaepernick. He'll just run it a little differently, which I think is a good thing. You know, if Kaepernick ends up getting hurt, then I think that he'll be able to come in and do the same kind of thing, just differently enough to where he could be successful doing it.
What about from the Browns' perspective? Love it or hate it?
Yikes. I mean, obviously I hate it if I'm a Cleveland Browns fan, just because I don't know who you're going to replace him with. Not that Colt McCoy is the next big thing in the NFL. Not saying that at all. But I feel like he is sufficient enough to play, be a backup in the league. I think that he can do that, especially to Brandon Weeden. So, I mean, going forward, I'm not really sure for the Browns if they can, find that kind of player in the draft. Maybe Colin Klein could fit in there. But
there are plenty of backup quarterbacks
right.
coming through the draft this year. So.
Yeah, I'm not really too sure about that. I'm not really sure that there are even any backups. That's a whole other thing. It's an interesting move. Leave it at that.
Yeah. Adam?
Hate it, because do the 49ers really need another piece of the puzzle to make them a more complete team? Seriously? I hate it. Hate it for being haters' sake. Hate it for Cleveland because, like I said, at the end of the day, Colt McCoy was the number 1 draft pick, right? I'm not number 1 overall, but he was a first-round draft pick for this team.
Yeah, I believe he was.
And what was that, 3 years ago that he came in the league, or was it 2 years ago?
3.
So then 2 years later, you use another quarterback. It's like that could have been easily used somewhere else in your team, and a team that is a few pieces away from being competitive. So I hate it and hate it. Like I said, what the Niners are doing, even though I can't wait to see Percy Harvin smoke Nandi Asmoah.
But, I mean, really,
fantastic.
Can't you give the Browns some credit for at least trying to draft a quarterback? I mean, they're not pulling a Raiders or Bills here who haven't drafted a quarterback in seemingly forever, and that's what's been really holding them back. So
between Richardson and Weeden, I got to side with Browns.
Yeah.
I don't know about Weeden, but
at
least they're trying. At least they're trying. That's what I'm trying to say. Is at least they're trying to draft somebody. Brandon Weeden, they're average, but
Weeden is still iffy. But think about the quarterbacks that the Browns have had over the years.
My only problem now with
Derek Anderson's one good year.
If in a couple years is really good, then he's already in the latter half of his career. you know. So I mean, as soon as he figures out this NFL career, is this NFL thing, he's going to be going downhill, and that kind of scares me, you know. He's old.
It is a concern, but you know, with the rules these days, the quarterbacks they can probably play into their 40s these days.
True.
Yeah. So
he can't pick his own
as long
nose
as he
without having a flag called on himself.
All right, Redskins keep D'Angelo Hall. They thought he was going to get bounced, but they worked out a contract for him. He's staying another year. Alan, love it or hate it.
Oh, man, I always love to see Hokies get work. Every time a Hokie signs a contract, I celebrate a little bit. So, I love it.
Adam?
Good for the Redskins. I like the fact that they figured a way to keep the team together because they had about 2 pennies to rub together with the salary cap this year. So anytime they can make anything happen there, good for them on that. Hate it because I don't like to see Redskins getting better. I like to see their team decimated by poor financial decisions, but
those aren't happening as much these days.
You don't have the option.
yeah, right. But at least Snyder isn't in control buying Albert Hainsworth for $100 million. So
that payday loan has come back quick, and it's a high percentage rate, baby.
I love it too because you know that's obviously a big concern with the Redskins is their secondary, and though Hall's kind of been hit and miss, his second half of the season was outstanding. He was easily the best corner on the team. We have some guys coming in that like Chase Minifield, who was injured last year, former UVA cornerback.
Solid, too.
Yeah, I think he's going to be really good, but you definitely need the security of having Hall back. And Hall wants to play for the Redskins, and those are the kinds of guys that the Redskins want. Former Redskin fans. He grew up in Virginia, right?
Yeah.
I believe in like the Virginia Beach, Norfolk area.
Norfolk area,
yeah. Yeah. So it's great for both sides. I feel good for Hall because I've always liked Hall, even though there are some frustrating times with him. You know, he takes his chances. So there's some times.
Gotta live with it.
Yeah, exactly. He takes his chances, but he's playing a lot better now. He's gotten a lot smarter, and I love the fact that the Redskins have him for another year for both sides. Feel good for Hall. So, moving on, Deshaun Thomas. This came out today, I believe. Ohio State's big guy. He's going to the NBA. So, no Deshaun Thomas for Ohio State next year. What do you think, Adam?
I think Deshaun Thomas saw the Kevin Ware injury, immediately called and said, yeah, I'm going to the NBA draft because I don't need that happening to me my senior year at all. A freak injury like that. I love it. At the end of the day, the guy has got 2 trips to the Elite Eight, 1 to the Final Four. He's the 9th highest point total in school history and a scoring crown in the Big Ten. What else is he? Besides winning a championship, that's all he has to do, and to do the trifecta. And does Ohio State have what it takes to win a national championship next year?
Right.
And if the answer is not a 96% chance, yes, there is a 6 inches of bone sticking out of a kid's leg that says, I better take the money now while I can. I chose to come back 1 year. Let's not push our luck here.
Well, I mean, it's not just the Kevin Ware thing. You know, that's always the question. Can we come back and compete for a championship? And honestly, if the answer to the question is no, then you have to leave. You know, you have to do what's right for yourself, unless you're coming back to a situation like we can use Matt Barkley last year in USC. He thought that they had a chance to compete, so he came back. Obviously, they didn't, and that was a huge mistake for him. So,
and he would have been better off going last year.
Totally.
James Michael McAdoo. It wasn't so much. It wasn't so much that they could win a championship the next year, but he thought it might be best to go ahead and improve his game, which he didn't. And that didn't work out for him. He went from lottery pick to somewhere 20s or higher. So he's still making that decision too. Personally, I think he might as well go while they think he's a first rounder. I'm just saying. That's
I honestly think he's got a great skill set. He's just way too out of control. He doesn't have the mental game, and I think that's something you can.
And that's what worries.
College.
Yeah, that's the only thing that worries me is whether or not he can sharpen that. There's no question that he has the potential to be something special, but does he have it up here? And you really need it up there. So I don't know. I have a hard time getting a grip on McAdoo's game. He confuses me a lot. So if he does come back, hopefully he does improve and he does bump up his draft stock and be a go-to type player for Carolina. But I just don't see it. So that's a
topic for another day, probably.
Yeah, and we don't have to worry about that with Deshaun Thomas. Yeah. He's ready to go, as ready as he's going to be to go to the NBA. So I completely support him. I love it. And as you said, it doesn't really look like Ohio State's going to be running for a championship next year, but they never really do either. They aren't a big-time recruiting school for basketball, so you don't get these high-end recruits coming in and it's like, okay, guaranteed championship.
I don't know. They do recruit pretty well from their area.
No, they do recruit well, but you're not getting top 10 recruits there.
Jared Sullinger was a pretty high recruit, if I remember correctly.
I don't know that he was.
I feel like he was well up in the top 100 coming out of high school.
He was definitely in the top 100. I don't.
Well into it though.
Yeah. I don't remember, but either way, it's not Kentucky. He's not. Ohio State's not getting a bunch of media coverage because of the recruits they bring.
Because of their great basketball program.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I mean, Thad Matta is going to take them deep into the tournament, no matter who they have. I think. I think he's a great coach. So he works well with his parts, and the guys stay for a relatively long time. So that's why they've been able to be successful without the top elite talent there. Rodney Purvis, former NC State Wolfpack, heading to Connecticut. What do you think about that, Alan?
Yeah, it's good for Connecticut. Poor NC State, I say, but, what are you going to do?
At the same time, he had kind of an off year. He had some really good spurts, but
wasn't it really just an off year for NC State? I mean,
yeah.
They should have been so much better than they were.
They were very, very inconsistent.
It was, and that's probably why he's leaving. The inconsistency. It's frustrating, I'm sure.
So is Gottfried a better recruiter than a coach?
Yeah, 100%. He's
all right.
Greenberg.
Adam.
I hate it because I don't like seeing the ACC get weaker, and he still has to sit a year if he can play for the Huskies.
Well, UConn's coming to the ACC.
They are an ACC team.
Oh, he is now. Let's see. There you go.
Yeah.
Because they said
the ACC.
Because I thought it said he could at least any school outside the Atlantic Coast Conference, except for Missouri and Connecticut, and ACC ban includes several new arrivals: Syracuse, Pittsburgh, Notre Dame, Louisville. So how was he able to go to UConn? Is it because of the ban?
Yeah, well, he still has to take a year off.
Okay.
From my understanding. I think the article you're reading, they've made it really confusing in the last paragraph. I have no idea what he was talking about.
Yeah.
I don't know what he was saying. But either way, UConn will be a part of the ACC next season, right?
So that article made zero sense to me then, because I thought he just couldn't transfer to an ACC school, and except for UConn, and said, all right. So I hate it. I like to see NC State try and get their stuff back together and make the ACC stronger in basketball.
Yeah, and I hate it for that too. But I think they'll. Even though Rodney Purvis...
Even though UConn is going to be in the ACC, I understand what you're saying, but
No. Well, I wasn't actually saying that. I was saying that Rodney Purvis has the potential to be a really, really, really good player. So NC State misses out on that, but at the same time, I don't think he is the piece that destroys NC State. I think they're pretty much going to be in the same position next year, whether he's there or not.
And I got a soft spot for NC State kind of a little bit. I just watched that Survive in Advance, ESPN 30 for 30 about Jim Valvano. Got a little soft spot for NC State right now.
Yeah, definitely.
Got a little dusty in the room watching that. A little dusty.
Jimmy B has that effect on people.
Yeah, got a little bit dusty watching that special. A little bit dusty in the room.
Were you a little bit dusty? I'm not sure.
No. There was some real problems in the room. I don't know, the circulation. My eyes were watering up. It was real tough.
People were cutting onions. Yeah.
Might have been a little bit dusty.
Yeah.
All right, finally, Rick Pitino is supposed to be entering the Hall at the end of the year. Finally. So, Alan, what's your take on that?
I mean, I obviously love it. I question why he's not already in the Hall of Fame, but
I think it was the NBA thing. I thought the same thing, but he did
I guess that's
go to the NBA for a few years and then came
right.
back. So I think that has to be it. That's the only reason.
I can't say anything bad about it.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah.
I love it too. What about you, Adam?
Deserves to be there, just confused as to why people get to go in the Hall of Fame when they're still working.
It is confusing, but maybe it's because they're so old
weird.
when they...
Yeah. I agree. If the rule is...
he might not ever retire.
With the rules being in place where they were, he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. I think, though, that you should not be working and still be in the Hall of Fame. That's my... I think you should be retired before you go in the Hall of Fame, even if it's only 2 years instead of 5 they do for baseball and football. But still, I think you should retire. It's a huge, slight advantage on your recruiting tool besides the fact you're Rick Pitino, Hall of Fame coach. Any other Hall of Fame coaches sitting down and talk to you, tell them to come to their school, sir?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I don't fully understand why, unless it's an age thing. They don't want to have to wait too long. But that's the only thing I can think of. But whatever. I'm still happy he's going into the Hall. At least we know that we don't have to wait 5 years after he retires when he's 80. Yeah. So
I know. I said I got one more love it, they hate it ad. I think we're all going to agree with it. It goes in really well into our game of the week. Love it or hate it, the 3-point play Syracuse drew up to tie that game last night. I've got a fantastic idea. Let's put a benchy, skinny white kid on there and then have him drive the lane for 2. What was the theory there on that? We're down by 3.
And 1?
Yeah, such a great. I guess I don't. But such a great game, so exciting. Unbelievable. I mean, the first game was exciting too. I mean, I was working, so I don't get catch of it. But what an exciting finish! It was a nail biter at the end. I wasn't even leaving work. I was sitting there watching. I'm like, that was the worst play I've seen all year. That was awful. What a major letdown.
Isn't that the equivalent of Chris Webber calling a timeout in the corner?
Yeah.
Almost.
I don't. So I'm gonna go with hate it as my last play of the game.
I can't blame you on that.
Yep. Everyone else, because I realized we weren't going to probably cover most of those games in this, so I was like, that really irked me last night at 11 o'clock. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me.
There's nothing like an odd play at the end of the game that just leaves you wondering what the hell happened.
Yeah, it was fantastic basketball. It took almost to get to the Final Four to start seeing fantastic games that really were close. I mean, even though last Sunday we were tweeting back and forth about the Duke-Louisville game, this is players want to play. Well, that turned into a blowout real quick. That got real ugly real quick. So, but both of those games came down to the end, and it was pretty exciting. Especially when Wichita State was up by 12. I was like, you got to be kidding me. Multiple times.
Yeah. I was worried for a while there. I've been pulling for Louisville for a while now, ever since UNC went out. So I was a little worried for a while, but they pull it out. But
that dovetails very nicely into the game we're going to talk about for our games of the week, right?
Exactly.
Let's kick it off, Michigan versus Louisville.
NCAA championship for all the marbles. Louisville and Michigan. Who do you have, Adam?
I'm going to take Louisville again. I know Michigan is hot, but what Louisville got was, by which I think was finally tested, I think, in this tournament, and finally down a little bit, and they showed they could pull it together, put it together, and win. And I think that they're going to take that in there, and they're going to beat the Michigan team. I'm going to say by 6 points.
Yeah, I'm not really sure that anybody really thought that the Louisville team needed to be tested. I mean, they're the number 1 overall seed, so obviously people knew how good they were coming into it. They were the favorites to win it all. So, I mean, I'm going to pick Michigan just because I picked Michigan a while ago to do well in this tournament, so I'm going to stick with them. I think that when they're hitting shots, Michigan, they play better defense. And when they're missing shots, they really don't play great defense. So if they're making some shots, I think that this game is going to be really, really good. Otherwise, I think this might be a blowout. If they're not, like, making, let's say, 48 to 60% of their shots, then I feel like Michigan could get blown out by 20, 25 points. But if they're making 48, 60% of their shots, then this is going to be a really, really good championship game.
No, I definitely agree, and that's kind of what you get with all the jump shooting teams, the whole defensive thing that you were talking about. They are usually more offensive focused, and once they're nailing shots, they get more into the game and
start slapping the court on the way back down.
Get it into the defensive end, but once they stop making them, they just become complacent.
Stop running through screens.
Exactly.
I can't tell you how many times I saw them just give up on screens against Syracuse after missing a shot. It's just like,
in general, brain farts too. Just people standing there, they should be switching, and they're just like, I don't know what's happening right now.
Man, it's nice here in Atlanta. I like the game.
Also, hitting free throws when they absolutely count. They could have put that game away multiple times last night, and these are guys who are shooting 70, 80% free throws throughout the season.
Man, that's a college basketball problem. I've noticed that a lot.
It is. Well, it's an ongoing problem throughout. Nobody puts enough concentration on free throws anymore.
Yeah.
It's as if they don't matter. But how many games end under 5 points?
Right.
How many games are that close? And it's a matter of free throws. You make a couple more free throws, and you got the game, especially at the end. So
Michigan's game yesterday, that game could have been done with 45 seconds left if they would have they would have gone 2 for 2 on 3 of the times they went to the line. Easily could have been over.
Yeah, we see that too many times. It's frustrating. It's frustrating whenever that's my team around. It's just like, make a free throw. It's not
make a free throw, and I don't play college basketball.
Exactly. I'm not that good at basketball.
Me either.
But I can make a free throw. I can make those all day long. So why can't you guys do it? I don't get it.
Yeah, you can make a free throw if we're standing on the court, me and you hanging out, shoot free throws.
No,
if the national championship was on the line, you think you got ice in those veins?
Yes, sir.
You guys are awesome. Seriously. I don't.
Thanks for admitting that.
I'm better under pressure, man. I do so much better under pressure. I think I would make more in a national championship game than I would standing out on a court by myself.
I agree. That's kind of the way I am, too. In sports, when the pressure's on, I don't think anymore,
Yeah.
So, they can be pretty good. Let's go ahead and... Do you still want to talk about the Lakers-Jazz games, or we're running out?
Read my article. We won't have to.
Go ahead and for predictions on how this Lakers situation is going to turn out, go to tsbsports.net. Check out Alan's article. He just posted it last night. LA Lakers playoff time.
Playoff time.
Playoff time.
Games broken down day by day.
Day by day, breaks down every game for the Jazz and the Lakers. Very well thought out article. So if you are interested in what's going on with the Lakers fans, Jazz fans, check out the article, tsbsports.net. It's Alan Miller's piece. Again, LA Lakers playoff time is what it's called. So check it out. We don't have time to go through all those games today, but You can check it out there. Let's go ahead and hit up the random rants, starting with Alan.
Well, I don't know how much TV you guys watch, but I do watch quite a bit of TV. And, you know, I've recently got, or maybe not so recently, in the last year, I've jumped onto the Walking Dead boat, the Game of Thrones boat. I don't know if do you guys watch either of those shows, Walking Dead?
I watch both of them.
Okay. Well, Rollin?
No.
Okay. Well, if you watch The Walking Dead, then just stop because it's terrible. They've turned that show into the worst show on TV. It was good. They had a chance to make a really good show, but they blew it. AMC, you blew it. You blew it. It stinks. Start watching Game of Thrones. HBO. Go to HBO. Watch Game of Thrones. It's got to be the best series on TV right now. It is so enjoyable. New episode tonight. Super excited about it. Just give up on The Walking Dead because it's awful. Don't watch it. It really makes me mad.
What is The Walking Dead?
Zombie apocalypse.
Oh. Yeah, that's why I haven't watched it.
It's been really cool. You know, like the zombies are all really, really cool. Like the special effects when they kill zombies and stuff. It is really, really cool. The writing is just so terrible. I swear, a 13-year-old wrote the entire show. It is
okay. I'll agree with
pathetic.
you. I'll agree with you that there are some really, really big plot holes that can be driven through that season finale of The Walking Dead. But besides that, that show is fantastic.
They had 5 episodes that season that they didn't need. That they could have just cut out. Nothing happened. They started in one place and ended in the exact same place. That's terrible. That is a waste of millions upon millions upon millions of dollars making that.
I think that if you go back and watch those, like, there's a difference though when you're taking a week off in between all of them. If you watch it, like, did you watch Game of Thrones, like, binge watch it, like I did the first season?
I've watched them all like 600 times, yeah.
Yeah, I'm saying, but if you binge watch it, it's a completely different thing. I think if you go back and watch The Walking Dead again, like, if you binge watched it, it would make a lot more sense. It's when you're waiting a week for an episode and you only get that episode where it doesn't seem anything really happens. If you go back and watch again, you realize, oh, this really filled this, and this in. But I'll give you that on that season finale, like, when she's trying to get that, spoiler alerts, and I'm not going to tell you what happens, but there's a person tied to a chair and another person there who's shot, who's going to turn into a zombie because the dead come back to life, and she has to get herself out of the chair by getting a wrench with her toe, and she stops trying to get the wrench for 5 minutes at a time to have a soliloquy with the guy who's dying instead of simply trying to get the wrench the whole time while arguing. Very easily could have dropped the wrench 7 times while having the argument. It would have been a lot just as intense than her stopping going, are you okay? Are you still alive? He's got a bullet in his stomach, people. He's not going to be okay. This is a race against time. Go for the wrench. Ron has no idea what we're talking about. You'll agree with me there. But you know, what you're saying about the earlier episodes, I think if you go back and watch season 3 in a clump where you're watching it together and you're not waiting a week for every episode, you're going to notice like those scenes like where they went to Clear, when they went to the the town, the guy we met in the first season there. That's going to be a great episode. The episode with the governor where it's basically just the negotiations, which seemed like nothing really happened. But when you're watching it and you can just start the next episode immediately and not waiting a week for it, it's all going to come together. And I think that's the way that show is actually being designed now versus that. But I agree with you with Game of Thrones, too. Game of Thrones is my favorite show on television.
Yeah.
And The Walking Dead comes up a close second. Yeah, those are my two favorite shows.
The thing with The Walking Dead that really bugs me, Merle is about to get rid of the governor. And then that kid steps in the way and goes, no, not in my house, and blocks the bullet out of the way.
He did block the bullet. He walked in by accident in front of him. As Michael Rooker said, Merle never would have missed that shot. The kid just walked in front of him.
But I mean, it seems that's not going to happen in real life, man. There's no way that kid's ever going to.
He did jump in front of
the walk. I mean, it's just so unbelievable.
Yeah, you're right. People never actually walk.
Unbelievable.
Rollin is completely disinterested in this entire conversation.
Sorry.
We're already 15 minutes of episode.
I'm sure there are plenty of people in our audience that are with you guys that watch it, but I watch like 30 minutes to an hour of TV a day. I mean, it's just.
It just really makes me mad. The Walking Dead does. Because it could be so awesome if there was 30 minutes of zombie slaughtering in every episode, it would be the most amazing show on TV.
Well, we'll agree, disagree, but let's go on to the next rant, Ron. What do you got there, bud?
Let's go on to you. I'll close it out. Let's see what you have to say about this.
My rant this week is about Facebook statuses. Listen, and this isn't the usual ones like, well, I don't give a crap what you ate for breakfast type Facebook status. Mine is the one where, like, things are looking gloomy, ? And then you don't explain it. Like, oh, that sucked. And then, like, don't really want to talk about it. Well, then don't put it on effing Facebook, all right, if you don't want to talk about it. Let's not be all mysterious about everything. Things are hard. Don't really want to talk about it. Well, but you sure want to type about it. So how about you crap that crap out, and I really don't care. By the way, I do care if you're like, things are really tough, need some help, please want to talk about it, then fine. Then we'll have an open discussion on a comment forum about how miserable your life is and how your boss stinks or how you're not sure if your husband really loves you or your boyfriend on the side is cheating on you too. Like, it's complicated. Like, yeah, I'm done with that. Either tell me what you're thinking, like, life sucks today because my boss is an a-hole, or because I caught my husband cheating, or because this didn't work out for me. Not like, life stinks, ... Like, your calls for attention screams attention.
Don't entice people to comment on something you don't want to talk about.
Then the comment goes, what's wrong? Not really want to talk about it right now. Need some help? Thanks. I'll call you if I need it. Like, dude, it's like, just cut it out and write something funny, put a funny post. I'm all about the meme central. That's fine.
It's funny, the people who do that kind of thing, too, who post, like, I'm sad, ... they're always on Facebook until you reply to that comment and say, what's wrong? And then they never answer. They answer everything else like that.
Yeah.
When they don't respond to that one, they're like, no, I'm gonna mess with your head a little bit here. I'm gonna
if I needed random people to help me with my problems, I put on Facebook, having a tough time, please contact me.
It's probably just something stupid, and they don't want to talk about it, but they want you to feel sorry for them at the same time, so they're just going to post something.
Oh, I've had people who, I use the word friends very loosely on Facebook, but that's what they're called, like, where you realize it's like, oh no, it's because your boyfriend just left you with your child. Yeah, either, you know what I mean? Like, it's awful things that, like, you find out through, other various means, like what happened to Sally Smith. I don't have any friends on Facebook named Sally Smith, so but what happened to Sally? Oh yeah, well Jimmy up and left her and got caught with her secretary. So that's what was complicated and life's really tough right now. That's awful and personal. Keep it to yourself unless you need to send it out there. So that's my rant. Facebook statuses, if you don't want attention, don't post it.
Amen, brother. Well, my little rant is on the male body. And I've come to learn that we get pretty screwed on that end. A woman can probably put on about 30 pounds before you really even notice. It goes in different areas, and usually areas that are okay to go in. But as for guys, we get it all in the upper body. We get the spare tire effect going. Your body, you gain 10 pounds and your body looks like a balled up chewed piece of gum. And I'm pretty sick of it because right now my jobs have me sitting at the computer all the time. Usually don't have enough time to exercise. When I actually have time to exercise, I want to actually relax and not work. So that ends up not happening. So my body's going to crap. I'm kind of getting tired of it. And it makes me jealous that girls can get by with it, but guys, we just look like crap. I mean, my body is rotting like the condom in Alan's pocket right now. It's bad. So,
are you looking for hate mail? Is that what you're looking for, hate mail? Because any women who listen to this are going to be slightly irritated about this comment. Because how many you see how hot my wife is? She has no reason to be with a guy like me. All right? Us chubby guys get away with a lot. Girls overlook a lot of crap we don't. There's plenty of girls who are nice and curvy, they throw on 5 pounds, they become a fat tail real quick. Sorry about that. You know what I mean? Like,
See, now, you're looking for hate mail. I'm complimenting women because they can hide all that stuff that we can't hide.
Really? We can. It's called layers. You just put on layers and wear lots of black clothes and take all your pictures from above so you don't see the 14 chins I have. The male body. The male body is disgusting for lots of other horrible reasons. It stinks, it smells, it gets weird rashes in places. All right? We have hairs grow where they shouldn't be growing before. Why they start receding from your hairline and growing out of your ear, I don't know if it goes in like that. It is awful.
It loops in through the inside, comes back out the ear. Yeah.
But unfortunately, fortunately for us, men somehow get better looking as they get older too, for some of us do. It's insane. Whereas women sometimes don't get better looking, and you feel bad for them.
And they mention that a lot. But
we're like fine wine, or fine wine if it smelled funny and had a gas problem. It's
well, I'd kind of like to go ahead and get to that point.
Okay.
Because I'm pretty tired of this.
Pilates, my friend, and yoga. Do office Pilates. Like you sit on that exercise ball, and
You got to dye in a little bit of salt and pepper.
yeah. Make yourself look.
I already have a little salt coming up.
Oh.
So that just adds to things. Again, going back to Father Time in the beginning of this. So now, honestly, I want to have like a stationary bike that I have to ride in order to keep my computer on.
That'd be pretty cool.
That is what I need. And that's what I need to develop to make some money too.
But you're going to need to get one of those Phoenix things so you can talk in the thing while you're pumping. It's like, all right, writing article.
Well, yeah, exactly. I'll be down with that. So anyway, those are our rants today. Anybody else have anything before we have to cut this thing off?
I think we're getting better at keeping it close to an hour. I think we're only about an hour and 15 minutes this week, so that's good.
Bad.
We're streamlining it down.
We're chopping it up, trying to get it a little faster. All right, guys, well, that is it for the show. As I said, with Alan's column, you can also check out our podcast at tsbsports.net. Constantly having columns come in. We usually have about 3 or 4 columns throughout the week, along with our podcast. It's gradually growing, so you guys can go there and check out what we're writing about, the hottest topics. Alan's writing. Mitch, who wasn't here with us today, though, next week we're going to be able to see him in the attire he has to wear because of losing that Duke bet with me, which is classic. I was looking forward to that today, but unfortunately he got stuck at work, so he couldn't come.
Surprise.
But yeah, convenient. But anyway, we'll definitely have Mitch, well, hopefully have Mitch back next week sporting some UNC apparel. So I believe that is it for the show. Again, everybody check out tsbsports.net. That's where it's happening right now. We'll be here live at 11 a.m. next Sunday. So everybody have a great week. We'll check you next week.